We're going to talk fast because I get paid per word. All right, everybody. Welcome to the Industrial Revolution lecture. Last time we talked about what preceded the Industrial Revolution. What was, before the textile industry, where did this sort of ingenuity and the beginning of mechanization begin in what field? We talked about last time. My story about the cows. Agricultural revolution, right? And we also hinted at an earlier revolution. What was that earlier agricultural revolution? How far back did that one go? Neolithic revolution, right? So now, so we're going to have this sort of inventiveness, this use of mechanization starts with the agricultural world, and now it moves towards the production of goods, right? And what field does this happen in? Which industry? The which one? Hi there. In Mrs. Crow's room. Yeah. Which? Cut that out. So what industry? So they're using machines, but in order to produce what kind of good? Textiles. Hello, people. And what are textiles? Cloth, right? You're all wearing it right now, okay? All right. Now, your book, that lovely book that you have, they broke this technical revolution, and they had 5 things that, and I highlighted the word there, spurred industrialization, okay? What do you think I mean by spur? When you're riding a horse and you give it the spur, what does it do? It's already going, isn't it? It's going to motivate it to go a little bit more, right? It's going to go faster. These 5 things are going to really, we had the beginning of industrialization. Guess what these 5 do? Kick it in the haunches and boom, here we go, okay? It's going to spur it along. All right, and this is a brief summation of what they were. Mass production, mechanization, iron industry, the invention of James Watts' steam engine, and then the ability to communicate with each other over wires, okay? Those are basically just the definitions that came from your textbook. We'll talk a little bit more in depth. Mass production. We live in a world of mass production, okay? And this is that we can now get goods that are cheaper because they're produced in mass. And what was anybody remember what the industry was they talked about there? Sort of by Josiah Wedgwood? Pottery, right? The creation of pottery. Instead of one person, if anybody's taking ceramics, how many people are taking ceramics? Yes. And so when you produce something, you're producing one item, right? Now, and so let's say if I'm producing a coffee cup, I make the cup, right? I do it, then I got to make the handle, then I got to take it to the next step and the next step. What if I was only doing one of those steps? One person was gathering the clay. Next person was making the whatever. Another person was spinning. Another person was attaching the handle. Another person was doing the whatever. And we're breaking that into steps. And that one person, that's all that they're doing. I do that over and over and over again. Therefore, I'm producing much more of them. So I'm creating a higher amount of them, a higher quantity. But now how does mechanization, I'm sorry, we'll get to mechanization, but how does mass production increase the quality of something?
Because if you keep on doing like the same thing over and over and over, you're bound to get better at it.
Very good. And that goes back to those 8 characteristics when we talked about civilization, right? Way back in early Civ, what was that one characteristic that makes me better at something? Specialized workers. The more I do of something, the better I'm going to get. If I make coffee cups all day, I'll get better and better and better. Guess what? What if I only did the handles of coffee cups? I could make a whole lot of coffee cups and make them pretty well. But of course, the flip side of that is I'm going to go out of my brains. I'll go crazy just making coffee cup handles for the rest of my life, right? That's all I ever wanted to do. Yes?
So what's the difference between mass production and division of labor? Aren't they the same thing?
Division of labor means I'm doing a task, usually not as specific. Mass production is the whole thing. Division of labor, that's just one part of it. Mass production is getting all the resources and all that sort of coming together.
And Josiah Wedgwood is the one who made the division of labor.
Is beginning of this kind of idea of mass production associated with that. Okay, and you can still get Wedgwood today. I don't know if anybody had that. But interesting is the people who start the idea of reducing the mass production in order to make things cheaper is Wedgwood is ultimately sort of the priciest of the China. A division of labor, like you see there, lower costs, first seen in pottery. And we're really going to see a step in this. When we get to chapter 28, the guy who's really going to sort of merge this and the next one together, mass production and mechanization. Anybody know who that is? What American? He does this in the automobile. Yes, Ford, because now Ford says, you know what? I'm going to have this stuff all happen along a what? Assembly line and have those goods come to the workers, okay? That's Ford. We're going to get to him in chapter 28, okay? Mechanization. This is machines, the use of machines. We realize that machines are more reliable than people. How is that possible? Machines can't do what people can, but guess what? They don't make mistakes. Okay, machines don't make mistakes unless they freeze up, and then you got to Control-Alt-Delete. Okay, but they're much more reliable than the labor that we had before. Human and environment, use of water or wind power, right? And this leads to much greater efficiency and lower prices. And we see this in the textile industry. The British are going to start to, this is going to go hand in hand with them losing the American colonies. The United States gets at their independence, and Britain is going to go where for some more cotton? Go to India. India is going to become their most prized possession, oftentimes referred to as the jewel in the British crown. And this is going to, there's that word again, spur government regulations. This is going to make the government want businesses to make more investments, okay? And this is going to cause the textile industry to really become the first one to industrialize. They want to beat out one group's going to want to beat out the competition, and so forth. Okay, here's an example of some images that we see from the Industrial Revolution. And these early images usually always come from the textile world. Early factories, and here you got women producing cloth. Because in the past it used to be like this. The putting out system in which that one person would spin. And you can see here, here's a woman. Where is she working at, you think? She's working in her home, right? And along with the task of the cooking and the taking care of the home, she works on the side, and she is spinning some yarn, spinning some thread there. And she's got one wheel that she's spinning, okay? And she does this on the side. At the end of the day, she puts what she has done outside the front door, and then she's paid for that, okay? But just work on the side. This is going to be transformed with what invention? The spinning what? The spinning jenny, right? And now you can see, here is one wheel, but the one wheel is now going to be associated with how many different sort of spools over there? There's quite a few of them, right? That one, it can now do multiples. This is going to, we do the jump to the next step today when we have this, okay? Mass production. That spinning can be done on a large scale, all because the machine's doing this, okay? There's a great example there of some of the images associated with the people who are working in these factories, okay? This is, like we say, this starts in Britain, like the homework that we did. And any attempt at sort of getting India their independence is going to be sort of put aside, and it's going to lead to more of control of India, more demand for cotton. In the United States, we're going to start to see more of an emphasis on this plantation. Remember, we saw that before. So interesting is that you're going to want to increase plantation labor, and it's going to lead ultimately to a rise of or a resurgence of slavery, okay, as it started to sort of find its way on its way out. Move forward on that. This is an example of how much, how many hours it took to produce, how many hours in order to produce 100 pounds of cotton. You can see it would take 2,000 hours before using animal or human power. With the use of steam power, you can cut that down from 2,000 hours to 300, and then today to 135 with automation. So the idea is that a radical shift, okay? And we see this all over the place in many other industries. The next one after mechanization is iron industry. What is iron going to be used for? Yeah, it's going to be used first off in construction of things, not necessarily in buildings. Why aren't buildings going to be transformed with the use of iron? Yeah, so too heavy. It's not going to be the second industrial revolution when we had with iron a purified form of iron that we use today. And what's that? Steel, right? And so, but we are going to have in many applications like farm machinery, bridges, and most importantly, the railroads start to lay down these. Iron has been used for a long time, but now we really have this shift that we can start to mass produce, like you saw before, iron. Okay? And this is going to go hand in hand with interchangeable parts. Interchangeable parts, we want to talk about mass production of pots. Now, what happens if you have a device that you need to put together, and if a device that may need changing? Okay, like example with firearms. In the past, if you wanted to buy a rifle, let's say, somebody had to make that rifle. You bought the rifle, and that's your rifle. If there's any problems with that rifle needs to be fixed because it's an individual item. Now you have the ability to be able to, if something is broken on that, I can take that piece out and I can put in another piece that'll exactly fit the same way. This wasn't able to be done before until you had the ability to have iron to be able to sort of produce these things. This is actually the first bridge that was ever constructed in the Industrial Revolution in England. And you can still go on it today. Okay, still very durable, very strong. The problem with iron, though, it's very heavy, though. Okay, and that's why we're going to have a change there. And I love this image of the rails, the railroad, and how that's going to transform everything. But it's all done because now you're going to be built on that iron track that you can see there. Okay, and there's Iron Man. I was thinking all things iron, and I thought, you know what, Iron Man. Okay, huh? He's not even made of iron, but Iron Man stands for what? Strength and power, right? And there's only, and who supersedes him? Who's going to even be a better superhero? A lighter, stronger, more flexible Superman, known as the Man of Steel. Ha, you see that? Iron Man, very strong, Man of Steel. Interesting is that Iron Man was originally created to symbolize the idea of capitalism versus communism. The idea is that anybody know the story of Iron Man? Who is he?
He's the guy who is Tony Stark.
And he comes from what? What is he? He's a wealthy industrial capitalist. He uses his wealth and power to defeat communism originally, and then it's going to transform itself. But the idea of that using the strength of this capitalist society, sort of, but it has been modified. So interesting there. It is, yeah. Good point. Here's an example of some of these interchangeable parts, like I mentioned before. Gun making, you would have the different steps there. And then if any of these things like the firing mechanism's broken, you could replace that and put that back in. Just like my wife who broke the vacuum cleaner last night. Something broke in the belt or whatever. Now we can just replace that and put that back in because she felt it was okay to vacuum over the toy snake on the ground, but they can't. And now it's gone. Guess how old the vacuum cleaner is? 1 week. 1 week. Yes. Yes. Anyway, she's not happy. I'm going to cut that out. Next is the steam engine, invented by who? What was his last name? No, I'm asking you. I'm asking. It's a Watt joke. You get it? So funny. If the person doesn't get it, you may want to explain it next to him. But yeah, James Watt invents the steam engine. Interesting is that he doesn't necessarily invent it. Okay, and this next slide I have here, invent in quotes, because he does this. He was inspired to create it, which means somebody else invented it, and he just made it better. Okay, which is what this kind of idea of what the Industrial Revolution is about, right? Remember that snowball effect? Somebody starts the ball rolling, other people pick up on it and sort of work on this inventiveness. The problem is that, and you're going to see this on the video, the steam engine that was before him didn't function as well as it was needed. And he is going to pick up and make it even better. Now, is James Watt hoping to revolutionize all of the industry, way all things are manufactured? No. He wants to do something, create a product for one particular purpose. When you start, and it's for mining, when you start digging down on the ground, if you remember you go down to the ocean or whatever, you go on the beach and you start digging, what are you going to hit sooner or later? Water, right? And you want to dig deeper, but the water keeps coming in. What do you need to do? Get the water out. What you need to be able to pump the water out. As miners in England are digging, James Watt knows that they want to be able to pump the water out. So he is going to develop a steam engine that will pump this water out. Just so happens you can now take that steam engine, hey, guess what? I can pick that up and I can use it somewhere else. I can power my factory. That's going to turn this spinning wheel. Hey, guess what? I can now pick this up and I can put it on a horse cart. And I can take off, right? I can put this up and I can put it on a boat. And now I can power my boat. And so the idea of taking one invention and using it in different ways. The railroad is going to be the impetus for industrialization. I love that. It's going to be the spark. Okay? It's going to be the thing that's going to push forth more industrialization throughout Europe. Okay, here's an example of other transportation. We can see here the use of docks. The use of, here's the first really kind of a steam engine on a locomotive that you have called the Rocket, and I think you guys read about this one. the rocket that went a full 35 miles an hour. But pretty impressive, right? Right, really slow. Has anybody seen the recent one of the last couple episodes of The Office? You guys watch The Office when they put the traffic the speedometer out front, because you know how they put that thing on the street when they want you to slow down, cars drive past, it says you're supposed to drive 30 and you drive past and it shows what you're driving. They put it right outside the offices, and they decided to go out and see how fast it can run, and so they're running at the thing, right? And they're like, hey, 12 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour. And then the Michael Scott's running in a car, drives right past him, and it says 31. He's like, I got the new record, 31. He's like, nope. And it says it's not humanly possible to run 31 miles an hour. And he doesn't care. He got the record. But you're going 35 miles an hour. Compare that to what you could go before. Okay? Exactly. If you're running, right? Yeah, so it's gonna do a dramatic increase in the speed of which things are going to go. Okay. And I love this image here, too, because what this is going to do, first off, you see there, steam, right, which powers this locomotive, and it's going to start to cut through these throughout the world. Wherever you want to go, you lay the track down, and you're going to start to create these connections. You start creating connections, and we can go all back throughout the trade that we've learned throughout this course, is that more and more trade connections is going to equal more and more economic opportunities. I'm boring some of us? Are we okay? No? Have you meowed yet? No? Okay. Sorry. Cut that out on the video. Look at this here. Wow. This boom in rail. Look at that. This is going to mirror the countries that have more rail line are going to be more successful. Who's going to be more successful? I'm sorry, more industrialized. Spain or England? England, right? Russia or France? France, right? And so who has more rail line means that we have more what? More trade going back and forth, right? Trade, ultimately more trade means benefit for everybody, for the nation's going to succeed more, okay? I hope I already had all this. And then communication over wires, and I love this image down there. It's relatively small, but this was at the turn of the century. All these, and it kind of mirrors the same 5 characteristics that sort of you read in the book. Things that changed the world, that spur industrialization. You can see it's got the printing press in the back, but there's a guy doing the telegraph, there's a steamboat, there's the railroad, the inventions of the century, the progress of the new century. Because now necessarily, I can have these goods go back and forth, but communicating back and forth, it's going to revolutionize everything. And that's kind of, you say that we're still in sort of an industrial revolution. Of all these different things that we've seen, the biggest revolution that we have going right now is a technological revolution. Right, computing, yes, but the handheld computer, the handheld cellular phone, that's really sort of making this thing, which was amazing for the day, communicating across the Atlantic Ocean via a cable. Now we can do that through satellite. Now that we can do that through cellular technologies. And sort of really linking the world together. The world's becoming a smaller place. Well, we're not really shrinking the size of the earth, are we? But we're making connections so much easier, right? And it's done at the personal level. Anybody using Skype at all? I just set up my Skype account. Got my my parents back in Southern California are able to talk to their grandkids with a live video call, and it's pretty amazing. Okay, you could, but more importantly than that, not saying that's not important, but you're seeing in the business world these transactions, and now you're going to have corporations that don't necessarily need to be where they were originally set up. So